Like I could literally.
Right in,
I think this.
making coffee. You got this down, Jessica?
Okay, today is Wednesday, December 4th, 2024, and the time is 2 p.m. and we're going to call this council work session to order. First up, visitor comments. Anybody in the room like to come forward, sit up at the bench and state your name for the record, please?
Brady Prion. The first thing is that I want to again emphasize that the report due on the chief of police needs to get done for the end of the year, so that we know if there was any involvement with the mayor-elect and the chief. And that needs to come out before there's a new mayor. And secondly, I want to talk about tourism. It was an embarrassing event. It was actually, I think, fraud. Most of the things didn't work. Train didn't work. Many items in the haunted house were broken and not functional. Photo booth didn't work half the time. They were so embarrassed by their own actions that they literally tried to prevent me from attending the event, tried to throw me out of the event, have it on tape. I think it's a class action lawsuit. You can't can sell tickets to an item and have none of the events actually work, or 60% of your items not work. I'm sure they're going to spin it and say construction and delay and all that. If you can't do the job, you don't take it. That's simple. And the amount of time, so I don't want to hear that excuse. If you are not able to perform the job, you do not take the job. Plain and simple. And if they weren't embarrassed, they wouldn't have tried to prevent me from going into the event. That's how embarrassed that they were. And of course, I noticed that the report that they're going to give is not online. And of course, that was the whole point of this new contract. Everything's going to be, all the numbers are going to be transparent. The city is there involved in it. And their leveling up was so great that they didn't have a permit. They went the entire month without a permit. That's a violation of state law. It's a violation of city ordinance. Tell me how come they didn't have a permit? And they never did get the permit. The person that got the permit was John. Now explain to me how that happens. Russ is the guy that complained about Tina not having permits on time, but yet sits there now in charge of tourism, doesn't say a word about Treadway not having an event. And again, their slideshow needs to be put online or whatever they're going to present, because it's not been made available. And then I guess that was probably it. Oh, I do think that the Columbia Center leasing, I think that's a great idea. I think you should do that. It's not that much money, and the makerspace could use the expansion.
Ready?
Steve Topaz. I thought I'd recap some of the recent conditions here in St. Helens. Last year, we expected the First Street, St. Helens Street intersections to be finished. A year later, they're still not finished. There's been a stoppage, starting fees from the contractor. We haven't heard about that. This year, First Street to Plymouth Street connection is supposed to be done. Pressure sewer line, pump station connection, the sewer plant were to be done. They're not. The consultant, the MFA, missed a large number and large toxic waste problems in this affair. And that has added greatly to the cost. The city not surveying the veneer plant and the property underneath it has caused us a lot of problems and increased the cost. The single-way street between the park and the city hall, which was first proposed, rejected by the public at a meeting, has now been built without public review or notice. The problems with the water reservoir leakage, which has been well documented by Ron, have gone from a few $100,000 to a $10 million replacement project. The question, of course, I raised in 2019 was reprimanded by the administration in a council meeting. An ethics violation was filed and thrown out. Ron's documentation has pointed out problems of workmanship, documentation, follow-up on terms of agreements, and different contractors. The reservoir must now be replaced. There are indications that the larger reservoir is also leaking. A realtor has for several years indicated the sewer line down Sykes Road has got a problem being undersized. The consultant's report indicates this line is at its capacity, and to correct the problem is a $40 million project. The sewage limit stopped the family from using its land for a small housing project. They spent a fair amount of money to spend for developing the design and legal costs. But adding to the problem of that line, DEQ reports that the Boise toxic waste pit is pumping 500 gallons of toxic waste material into that line every month. The DEQ report also indicates that there's leakage from this site into the local streams. DEQ in this report does not indicate any repairs are needed to fix the problems. DEQ has come out with several reports on the industrial sites in Scappoose Bay Waterway, the sealing plant, creosote plant, paper mill, and the channel. These reports indicate what is needed to contain toxic waste found along these sites. With the new director, the only acceptable method is to cap everything. This translates into you can't use this land for industrial purposes. A report came out in May of 2024, which gave plans for cleaning up the site. The September ruling with the new director will not allow anything but capping. The first part of a 15-year study on the paper mill, this again is by DEQ, concerned with the in-water shallow depth contamination. The answer was to remove pilings and cap with activated charcoal and sand. The deep contamination was judged too toxic to remove. In total, the industrial waterfronts would be made unusable, about 2 miles of St. Helens waterfront. A point overlooked, according to DEQ rules, the present owners and possible buyers should be notified in a face-to-face meeting with DEQ to explain the problems that the toxic waste causes and the responsibility of the owners to contain these contaminants forever. Cancer rate, Columbia County is the highest in the state. DEQ does not use a cancer rate when deciding about the treatment of toxic waste. Next to the mill, there are 2 architectural designs for a police station, which cost millions of dollars, which could not be built at that location. There was a bond issue floated for the police station, which was redirected without the approval of council. Across the street from this police station, the administration had an architectural design company design an RV park, which had to be canceled because it was an exclusionary zone of on the stream. No indication of the cost of what that design cost. At the present time, we have a police chief that's on administrative leave with no explanation to the people of the council why. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Topaz. And again, now is the time for visitor comments. So if anyone else in the room would like to come forward.
Hello, counselors. My name is Diana Weiner, for the record. First off, I want to say yay to Jenny for 10 years of service. She has been helping with our house rebuild and with the grant that we were given to return it to its historic look and feel on the exterior. And I'm grateful to her and all the work she does for the city. So yay to Jenny. I wanted to offer a counter view of the Halloween Town event. I found it to be incredibly well organized. I came down multiple weekends and I was here on Halloween with some friends. I loved the integration of local businesses. I saw the movie theater participating for the first time, and I had had a previous conversation with the owner about why she didn't participate previously. So I thought it was great that that relationship was mended. I loved all of the mobile businesses that were brought in. I thought that was an excellent use of the space that was available given the construction. I found it to be cleaner than ever before. Bathrooms were readily available. And I will say this, as somebody who lives on Third Street, this was the first year I was ever able to park in front of my house because there were so many signs for residents saying like, don't park in front of these residential spaces. And there were so many warnings to visitors that there was actually space in front of my house. Last year when I came down, every spot in front of my house was, despite the fact that my house was literally under construction, and had a container in front of it, was clear. So I feel like Treadway did an amazing job given the very short period of time they had leading up to the event. And I look forward to working with them in the future, just as a resident, because they seem very open to including other events. I also loved that they added other events in town to their calendar. So people who were coming for Halloween Town could see things like the Catholic Church's fall event, other events, and they were willing to add anything to their calendar that we asked them to. I want to support more funding for the makerspace. As a library board member, I can tell you that it's something that is really valuable, makes our library unique, and is a unique opportunity for adults and teens in the city. So I would like to see the funding at least continue at the level it's at, if not increase. Though I know that's going to be hard. I think the construction, having now spent 2.5 years and counting trying to rebuild my house, construction down here is tough. The amount of water incursion that we have dealt with, that's a big part of why, because we're on this slate. And so I know that the construction on downtown is taking longer than expected, but having run into a lot of surprising construction delays myself, just due to the unique nature of where we sit. I have a lot of sympathy for the city and the work that you're doing, and I think it's going to be beautiful when it's done. I loved the historic touches on all the planters that are going in, that the slate facing will look and feel like the older buildings. And some of the newer ones. Mr. Hubbard, your apartment complex looks fantastic. I did want to ask, I know the stage in the park was cut. I just want to know. Okay, I just want to know if that's going to be in the next phase of the build. That's it. Or if it was cut entirely. Thank you.
You're not seeing anyone else in the room? Is there anyone online? Oh,
My name is Dana Lathrop. First of all, I would like to thank you all for the awesome work you guys are doing, especially considering the many challenges the city faced this year with different setbacks alike. And I also wanted to extend gratitude to City Council for their choice on Treadway events to run Halloween Town. I have operated a business on First Street for the last 5 years. And as a business owner who is passionate about our city and about tourism and about Halloween as a whole, I can say that this was the most abundant season in regards to happy patrons on our street at my business. And as far as myself and other business owners, probably the most cohesive opportunity to participate with tourism here in town. We were greeted with kindness, with respect, with professionalism, and given ample opportunity to provide input and opportunities to volunteer and make the event so much better. So I cannot stress enough how happy that makes me as a business owner on First Street to feel welcome in an event that impacts so much of my business throughout that entire season. I do recognize that there were issues related to construction that have impacted not only the event, but myself and other businesses locally. I do have to say it's incredibly frustrating for us here on First Street to continue to have detriments to our business that is caused by the prolonged construction. I recognize there's a lot of things in place that even you guys, can't control or are having difficulty navigating. I respect that. With that in mind, though, the ability for Treadway to pull off such a success in the event with minimal time and ample roadblocks should be noted. Because what they did this year was incredible. And if they were able to do that with such a short time frame and everything else they had in place before them, I'm very excited to see what they can do in seasons to come. And I hope that you guys can recognize that and honor them so that they'd be interested in participating further. Because this was a great year. The feedback that I received personally from some of our visitors from out of town, including performers at the event, was phenomenal gratitude and compliments all around for improvement in this year's season. And these are people that have been participating for years. And so that's very telling from someone who's witnessed it firsthand and from people who we rely on to continue to make this event great. So thank you so much for your time.
Okay, anyone else in the room? Anyone online?
Yes, just a minute. Adam.
Okay, Adam, go ahead.
Adam Sipier, St. Helens. I really initially called to talk about tourism today, but it seems like basically everything I wanted to say has been covered by everybody else. I think the only one thing I would add is I heard there was a meeting on Tuesday before Thanksgiving, a follow-up to actually talk to some of the local vendors and the local business owners to see where improvements could be made. And the gratitude that I heard from the businesses on that follow-up meeting was amazing. Everybody was, of course, ecstatic on how well things were operated this year, but they were even more impressed by the actual follow-up and the questions asked on what they could do better. They just wanted, everybody wanted me to know that they were so impressed by Treadway trying to address the issues that obviously were there. So, no event ever goes perfect, but trying to address them after the fact, they wanted, Treadway to get recognition for that. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Adam. Anyone else online? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and jump into today's discussion topics. We're gonna start with an employee length of service recognition. Today, we're recognizing Jenny Dimshow for 10 years and Christina Sullivan for 5 years. So I have a little blurb here to read about them because there's no way I could possibly memorize that, so bear with me. I'm happy to announce that we have 2 employees who have reached a milestone in their employment with the City of St. Helens. The following individuals will be recognized at today's work session. Jenny Dimshow, 10 years. Jenny became a full-time city employee on August 1st, 2014. She started as a term-limited assistant planner, becoming a permanent assistant planner on July 1st, 2015. In 2017, her position was reclassified to associate planner. In April of 2021, the city created a new job description that better reflected the duties Jenny was performing. Consequently, she became the city's first associate planner / community development project manager. But her story with the city didn't start in August 2014. Jenny first came to the city as a rare AmeriCorps in September 2013, where she served for 1 year. So at this time, we're going to honor Jenny by coming up here. I have an award for you. Thank you, Jenny. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say from the council about Jenny? I know a lot of you guys have had an opportunity to work with her.
Yeah, I do. I was being on the planning commissioner, being the liaison for the city council and the planning commission. You guys do an amazing job, amazing work, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I worked with you for 9 years. And
God bless you for that.
yeah, we got it now. But just the cohesiveness of everybody getting along and working with Jacob, seeing you really grow into the position and taking over a lot more. So
Appreciate
great.
it. Thank you.
And I've had opportunities to work with Jenny even before council, different projects, and just always appreciate you and your hard work and dedication. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Counselor.
10 years has gone pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I remember when you first joined the city and the cohort of other rare and AmeriCorps people that were here at that time, the group of them all work together on projects with the port, and it's kind of brought all our organizations together and just been done a fantastic job with the city. I couldn't be more proud.
Seems like just yesterday.
Now, I remember Timmy as a young student working with Shedco way back when. And the one thing that nobody's mentioned, when it comes to the magic of getting grants, she is Miss Magic. And she's done more than a supreme job at a lot of things that really weren't her job description. So she should get a very large applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. We appreciate you. Okay, we have another familiar face we're saying thank you to today. Her name is Christina Sullivan. She started working with the city on November 4th, 2019 as our Community Development Administrative Assistant, which is where she will continue to serve until her last day, sadly on December 10th. Yes, Christina is moving on to new adventures. We will miss her greatly. Christina, get up here and let us say nice things about you.
Adjustments. Down. Oh, my shirt. Like wrinkled at the top right here. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you so much, Christina. We have appreciated everything you've done. You're always the first to advocate for your fellow employees, as you know, you're wearing the shirt today. So I'm sure everybody really is really grateful for you being a voice for everybody, and so are we. So
Thank you.
does anyone else want to say anything about Miss Christina?
I've always appreciated your honesty, especially when you came to the council meeting to express your concerns. I know that was probably hard to do, but I appreciate the.
I still live here, so I'll still come and.
Express your-
Come down and bust it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good to hold you accountable.
I have your departure in my report later on today, but I'll say my words now that I really appreciate what you've done for the city and been there, that presence at the front counter that comes in and very welcoming, and your work with the engineering department, the planning department, building department, and just everything else in between. And you know, it's been a real privilege having you here.
Thank you.
Pleasure working with you.
I like you guys
Wish you all the
too.
best.
Now, a word that no one's also mentioned, Christina's done a huge amount of work with the school system, getting kids to the parks and a few other things in the library system, building programs that didn't exist before.
Not me, that was probably Shauna. That's very nice.
You unfortunately, you had a part in helping get things through.
Sure.
And that's, again, one of the things that, you know, it's a little thing seemingly, but has a big effect. So be proud of that also.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Christina.
Christina.
Your photo on everybody. Oh, not you guys. So what, can we get the council in? Come on, guys. We can.
I'm up for it.
Yeah, come on.
Stand by. Yes,
You guys are in the middle here.
Yeah, there too.
Don't you guys just love it when I'm in charge?
Yes.
Doing great. All right.
Yeah, like. Or take care of this way.
I go the other sideways, Russ.
The other sideways? Is there a reason for?
Okay, yeah, perfect. All right, ready? Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Okay, so next up, we're gonna invite Treadway up here. Come on up. We're gonna talk about tourism reports.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, we have Brittany and Brandon. Welcome.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, everyone, for having us. Brittany Hummel and Brandon Treadway with Treadway Events. This year was something else. The timeline was, you know, a little bit stressful on our end, of course, but I think that overall, as we'll get into this report, I think that overall the event came off very great. I think that there's a good overview from the guest perspective, the vendor perspective, the local business perspective that we'll get into in a second. Overall, in terms of our executive summary, this kind of just recaps the general all the facts and everything based on survey responses, our impressions, feedback that we've received verbally as well. But in general, the event had nearly, or actually over 60,000 attendees. We had a variety of special guests, celebrity talent, 2.4 million impressions through digital advertising, and the event was considered a game changer by some folks' perspectives. In terms of our free event attendance on the day of, this doesn't include general, after hours event attendance or city attendance, or weekdays, yes. We estimated about 39,580 people attended on those event days, and we had paid event day attendance of 28,000 people. On some of the event days, we saw upwards of 10,000 people in one singular day. The duration was late September, the final weekend, through October 31st. And the event was on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. And then the times were 11 to 8, 11 to 6, and on Halloween from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. In general, the event took up the Plaza Square, First Street, and the public parking lot. As we all know, those were the only locations this year due to construction that took place. Some of the key attractions this year that we featured were the Pumpkin Plaza, the main stage, Nightmare on 4th Street, the Boo Bash Pavilion, the Haunted House, Alien Experience, Oddities Museum, and a variety of market vendors with local businesses out of state, and also food vendors, of course, as well. Some of the celebrity appearances that we had were Kathy Najimy, Philip Van Dyke, J. Paul Zimmerman, and Billy Burke, who was from Twilight.
The vendor feedback, we had a lot of amazing vendors. I did quite a bit of outreach with only 30 days. I was very pleasantly surprised to get a total of 40 vendors with 30 days. A lot of them are usually booked out already, so I was really happy to get that many, as well as bring back quite a few vendors that had vended in Halloween Town in prior years. A lot of vendors said that this year they were able to meet or exceed prior year's sales goals, which was a really big deal. A lot of them also wanted to highlight that they were able to get plenty of information prior to the event and were able to get support or help as needed during the event. And that we were very easy to get a hold of if they needed anything from us, which was great to hear. They all really loved the main stage, the wandering performers, the Boo Bash Pavilion, and then some of the fun ideas that some of them have for future years is to include a drone show with the pumpkin lighting, which those are pretty pricey, so that we have to see about that one, but it would be fun. I definitely agree it would be fun. A couple of them also thought it would be fun to have Friday nights be an event day, but that is what we got back from vendors this year. From the local businesses, we took quite a bit of action prior to the event starting. Went door to door with businesses on First Street to meet them, to hear their experiences with Halloween Town in the past, to get feedback on what we could do to enhance the event in our current year. And we were able to get a lot of information from those businesses that helped us kind of kick off our event planning. They also voiced a lot of concerns about garbage and restrooms, so we definitely focused highly on making sure that we had enough restrooms for guests and that garbage was cleaned up and taken care of at the end of every event weekend. I myself, with a local, would sweep First Street every night on Sunday and then would walk around and pick up trash together, listening to music and just kind of talking about how the weekend went. So that was like our little chill time together. We provided event information packets to each business in the area, and then Main Street helped us disperse them to other businesses that were not on First Street, as well as pass out flyers for them to put in their windows. We also provided businesses with parking passes for the lots behind the theater and the Masonic building. If those lots did become full, those passes got them free parking in the shuttle lots and free shuttle rides so that they could still get to work. We did gather a post-event report feedback form for the businesses to fill out. A lot of them praised our coordination and their opportunity to participate in the event overall. They did ask that next year we provide a business map to guide guests to increase foot traffic and to improve access for
their staff during street closures, which with construction being over next year, hopefully that will kind of work itself out. There was a lot of positive outcomes. Quite a few businesses were calling this year a game changer for them. We had a lot of participation from long-term businesses, and it was already mentioned, but the theater played Halloween Town, which was a big deal. They also played Twilight, and I believe she also played Hocus Pocus one weekend. We also had quite a few businesses that came outside of their building. They put up tents, they participated on the street, which was really awesome to see. There was a lot of businesses that brought out games. The one in the photo, the cupcake store, they had a really cute old guy out on the street selling ice cream in like a candy striper outfit every weekend. He was adorable. So it was overall a really good experience, and I personally have connected with quite a few of the business owners and have really enjoyed getting to know all of them. Then the consumer experience, the event awareness primary channels used were word of mouth, Facebook, and Instagram. Guests praised the many food vendors and the local businesses. They praised the enhanced decorations and the just overall decor of the event this year. The stage performers and roaming performers were very well received, with interest for more of them and added costumed characters. I think we're definitely looking at adding more characters that go along with Halloween Town that are walking around and meeting guests and interacting with them for next year. The condensed layout due to construction did cause some overcrowding and some limited access to the attractions. It also did cause some longer lines for a lot of the bigger attractions like the haunted house or the alien experience. Since there wasn't many activities spread out, the lines did feel a little bit longer, but we worked with our team to try to get people through as quickly as we could. Parking, there wasn't much parking down near the event space, so that was kind of something that we got a few complaints about. The shuttle service was criticized for long wait times. Even though we had four regular shuttles and one ADA shuttle, we quickly realized that the issue was not enough shuttles. It was the congestion getting to town. Even though the lot is only like 10 minutes away, it took like 30-45 minutes to get from there down to the stop. So possibly looking at doing a bus only and business owner only route next year. We'll see if that works out. And then a lot of attendees felt that the provided attractions such as the alien experience and the oddities museum and the haunted house did lead to some disappointment for the price. We noticed we did a post-event feedback form for guests as well, and asked them how many of them are returning visitors or first-time visitors, and we had 82.7% as first-time and 17.3% as returning visitors.
Moving on to the marketing side, in collaboration with Crystal King, we had over 75 plus press mentions throughout late September and into October, of course. There's a few of the more notable names there listed from Willamette Week, Coin 6, Chronicle, of course, Portland Tribune, Condé Nast, and a few others there. Overall, we had 232,000 media impressions, and MSN was one of the big ones as well. As you can see on the right side there, we had Core out, of course, we had Drew Carney from KGW, and a variety of others that came out throughout the season too, which was great. In terms of the actual marketing game plan that we did, we combined a variety of platforms that we're familiar with using, of course. Facebook ads was one of the biggest drivers to event ticket sales. We implemented an email campaign using MailChimp. We ran Google ads, of course, radio ads through Alpha Media, and that was a partial sponsorship. TikTok organic content, and as you guys may have noticed, there was plenty of billboards on the way through Highway 30 promoting the spirit of Halloween Town. All of these really brought together a great cohesive marketing campaign for the entire event in general. In terms of some of the analytics, the Google impressions side reached 194,000 people over that, really. Meta had 746,000 people reached, and we had ultimately 2,213,541 Meta impressions, which is, in our opinion, very, very good for the return on ad spend in general. And this attributed to a lot of those increased sales in general. Meta was definitely the top performer. In terms of some of the demographic data, we found that the female and male breakdown was 89.5% female, while 10% were males. And the main age group was 25 through 34, and then secondary to that was 35 through 44. Down below, you can see that there was a variety of countries represented who either showed purchase intent or actually did purchase and attend the event. So we did get a great amount of reach for actual ticket purchasers too.
Some of the tourism highlights, we had around 67,581 estimated event day attendees. That is obviously not including weekdays when people would come on their own. We did on our report that was sent out to ticket purchasers ask if they traveled and how far that distance was. So there is a breakdown of the percentage of people that traveled. We also asked if they came for a day trip or if they stayed overnight. And if they did stay overnight, what areas did they stay in? So the applications for stays, that's broken down by first, second, third floor. So people are primarily staying in Portland and then St. Helens also. The spending habits, attendees who stayed overnight spent significantly more on tickets, food, merchandise, and local experiences. Over 55% of visitors spent more than $100 during their visit, not including event-related tickets and merchandise, which means that they were contributing meaningfully to the local economy. A lot of guests came because they were fans of the film or of Twilight, or they were just general Halloween enthusiasts or thought it'd be a fun experience for their families. The local business engagement, 44% of surveyed attendees visited local businesses, including cafes, breweries, restaurants, antique shops, and more. Opportunities for improvement. I did have the pleasure of being here for every single event day and every single setup day. So I did get to experience the event a lot. It got to the point that during the pumpkin lighting, I could quote the entire thing. I probably started to irritate our staff because I would just stand there and say it with them. But some of the opportunities for improvement, obviously everybody here has experienced it themselves, but we experienced it as well as the local construction. There was some issues with construction and having to reroute some things that wasn't fully expected, but we figured it out. Parking was obviously a little bit of an issue. We were able to make it work, but I'm excited for when the construction is over. The First Street closure on Friday evenings did disrupt access for local businesses, and we are working on a plan for next year to improve that for them. Shuttle delays, kind of already talked about that a little bit, but we're hoping to improve that for next year as well. The longer lines due to the condensed event space. We'll have more space next year, and we're looking to include some more activities, which would help spread out lines, and people could pick maybe one that has a shorter line. And then some conflicting information online. There was some outdated event profiles that were intended to falsely claim that the event was not happening, causing a lot of guest confusion. And then the fun one.
Looking at the financial summary, we've got our top line revenue items, admissions, parking, sponsorship, alcohol, vendor fees, merchandise. When it comes to all of these are mostly all gross numbers. And our total gross was about 1.2 million and some change there. Combined expenditures was about $725,116.50. Net proceeds are estimated at $478,832 at the end of the event. Of course, there is a little bit of difference here if any other chargebacks, things like that come in, but this is a very close and accurate number that's being presented here. All of these are collected through ticketing platforms that we have worked with, or our third-party vendors such as Oregon Beverage, or our parking and transportation vendor, Ace Parking. So they are providing all of these to us. Oh, one other thing on that too is that the combined expenditures does include the Treadway Events service fee as well for the entire year.
Then the 2025 recommendation. Thank you. Compliments make me want to cry, so it's a little awkward. The 2025 recommendations that we have gathered through our feedback forms, talking with our team, meeting with local businesses, talking with Main Street, some fun ideas that we have for 2025 would be adding more kid-friendly activities. Things like hay mazes that include aspects of the movie. So they're going to the hay maze looking for the parts that make the potion. Pumpkin bowling, which is something that I saw at where did we go? A pumpkin patch, and they had pumpkin bowling. That was the most random and cool thing I've ever seen. And then some fun themed bounce houses for the kids. Vendor placement, we're hoping to relocate the food vendors back over to the waterfront and keep all merchandise vendors that do not require power on First Street. So we wouldn't have to shut down First Street on Fridays to bring in power like we had to this year. We want to enhance the decor, bring it outside of the square, include more First Street, include the waterfront, and just really spread out that Halloween vibe. We want to bring in some live bands. We're working on a partnership with the record store to get some fun live bands and have live performers on stage when there's not like the magician or the other fun performers that we had. We want to do some attraction updates, completely refresh or retheme the Alien and Oddities Museum, just to maintain visitor interest. If people come back and they're seeing the same thing over and over again, they might not want to come back another year. We want to think about doing some year-round operations in the Masonic building, see if we can do a year-round attraction instead of only a seasonal haunted house, and then also renovate the gift shop. We want to include the community more next year, collaborate with local businesses in the upper districts to bring them into the event space and activities. Definitely some parking improvements. We want to increase the no parking signs. With that, our idea is to just have them at City Hall. So people that are having issues with people parking in their yard, they could just come pick up one of our little event no parking signs and put it in their yard. And then not have to try to get in contact with us and find a day that we're in town. They could just go get it when they need it.
Just to note it, there was about 150 of those signs distributed this year, just for perspective.
And then we also want to provide closer ADA parking to improve accessibility in the event next year. We want to do a merchandise refresh, update all the event merchandise to include new and exciting items. Return some popular features, which would be bringing back the pirates. A lot of people wanted to see the pirates again. They did come down one day and sing sea shanties around the event space, which was really fun. And we did have Jack Sparrow, so that was also really fun. We will hopefully be bringing back the train. It did have to get some updates in October, so it will be back. It is not gone forever. It just needed some love and attention. We do want to offer more vendor spots, and hopefully with that, if we're able to get more vendors, we could then reduce the vendor fee, which would bring in a broader range of vendors. And then also make the signage higher and clearer so that it's easier for guests to navigate throughout the event space, and add probably some better event maps.
That is the end of our Spirit Halloween Town report. We do have the holiday in the plaza. This is the new proposed branding for it all.
I love
This will
it.
take place December 14th. It's free to attend. Free hot cocoa, Christmas lights. We are starting decoration actually tomorrow. Holiday goodies, free digital photos with Santa, and more.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who worked so hard to help us feel included and involved in the community. That helped give us information, provide support, and just be a general positive light when needed, when things felt stressful. So just want to say thank you to Main Street and all of the lovely people who live in town who recognized me in stores or recognized me when I went through Starbucks, and just was very grateful to have us here. And I love coming here. I can't walk anywhere without seeing somebody that I don't know, which is really exciting. So I love coming to St. Helens and seeing all my friends. So thank you for having us here and giving us this awesome opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Does anyone have any questions?
I think you guys have done a great job. I'm not a Halloween Town touristy thing guy, but I came down for I think it's the pumpkin lighting, and it was packed down here and everybody seemed to be having a good time. And I think you've exceeded my expectations. So I appreciate all your hard work, and let your team know the same.
I'm not a Halloween Town guy either, but I am now at 1,019,000. And we netted $400,000+. We'll give it to John. He'll just spend it. Yeah, and what's really great is you guys are very approachable, and it's like you're teaming up with us, and you're pulling us all together, and all of our different vendors and everything, and Main Street, and just listening to everybody. And I'm looking forward to your Christmas thing, because I know it's going to be great that you will pull it off, and we'll be happy to come down here during the holidays and feel good about the square and everything. So I'm really stoked you guys are in charge.
Thank you very much, Wilson. Means a lot.
I am a Halloween Town guy and thoroughly enjoyed it and enjoyed working with you guys and just thank you for keeping us in the loop as well as everybody else and looking forward to future events with you guys. Thanks for everything.
Well, and you guys know I'm a Halloween Town girl and I can't say enough how thoroughly impressed I've been. And you guys just knocked it out of the park. And I mean, I'm a data person. You guys have the data. You took the time to calculate everything, to ask people questions, to track information. That's how we really see if there's changes or what needs to be fixed. That's how we really track things. So I appreciate that about everything you guys have done. And you guys are teamwork. I mean, everything you do is about communicating with others. And that's what I've been looking for. Thank you guys. You're awesome. We're very happy that you guys are here and that you guys are continuing with the future growth of Halloween Town. Guys.
I'll just add my.
Oh, sorry, John, go ahead.
My interaction's been really good. The feedback from staff with police, from the public works has all been great. Hope to do it again next year. So even bigger and better. So.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. All right, next up, we are going to review proposed changes to the records and evidence specialist job description. It doesn't say who's doing this, but I know we have our interim chief here, so I don't know if he's doing it or.
This is just an administrative update to the
Okay.
job description. When Hallie, when she left the position, we always look at job descriptions to make sure they're fresh and appropriate. And there's a couple of changes to the supervisor, other than the administrative sergeant, it's the sergeant. And there's a couple of wordsmithy things about other facilities here. It's very minor updates. And we're typewriter out because that's really not that relevant anymore. Job duty there, so don't anticipate that to be controversial whatsoever. So it's on your agenda for tonight. So.
Did anyone have any questions about that?
Pretty minor.
Joe, did you want to say anything about it or?
No, I think it's just a modernization of what we had. Every you open something up, you find a word or two that needs to go away, and I think that's all that happened here.
All right, so we'll see that on the agenda tonight. Next up, we have an agreement with the Port of Columbia County for access to industrial properties. So go ahead, John.
Do you want to do number 4?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped number 4. Discussion regarding leasing vacant space at Columbia Learning Center for the maker space. Counselor Gunderson and Counselor Hubbard.
So we have an opportunity. There's been a vacancy down at the Columbia Learning Center Library to expand the makerspace, and also there's interest for Main Street to put an office in there. I'm in support of both. I think when the Columbia Economic Team, I believe it was, came and said that they were looking for more work-ready folks. I think this is an opportunity, especially to get kids in there and learning skills. I know they've got the 3D printer and learn soldering and all sorts of skills that they could use in the workforce. I don't see any negative to this. It's not that much. It's it's going to accomplish 2 things. Russ?
Yeah, I think it was brought up that Main Street might be in the market to find some space, and we were involved with this, and I thought, my God, they don't need much, and the makerspace would move into that and wouldn't even really need that front office part. So it seemed like a natural if your agency or group is okay with that, since they're part of the city involvement and everything. And I guess we're both in favor of that. And then it goes to John for the money.
Goes back to you to the money. I'll just tell you where you can
I
take
do
it.
have some clarifying questions, and I do see we have Erin Salisbury in the room for Main Street. So if she wants to come up real quick.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Do you want me to come up?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't planning on that. Yeah. Okay.
For you.
Yeah, oh, thank you. And again, this is a new idea, so it's not an idea that the board has discussed in any way. And we're not urgently looking for space. We do have, but the space where we're at, up on 18th and Columbia Boulevard, our landlord would have other use for it if we vacate that office. So we're not getting the rush out the door, but we are talking about strategically where we should be. My personal opinion, without the board having discussed it, is that while this would be a great size office, unfortunately, it is not on Main Street. And for us, I think if I were, that would be one of the things I would be bringing up in a board discussion about this, is that for us, it would be, I think the value and the goal has always been to have a storefront or an office that was adjacent to our actual Main Street corridor, so that it makes it easy for any staff, part-time or full-time, or that to be a part of our corridor. So that would be it. But you're right, that could be a great office, but it might be a great office for something else. That would be my gut level feeling. So.
Thank you, Erin.
Thanks, Aaron. If Main Street doesn't want it, then I believe that they could expand the makerspace and use that space as well, correct? So
Well, I have some concerns, okay, so I'm just gonna be very transparent about it. I feel like the makerspace is not stable at this time. We just reopened the doors and we're still unsure about funding for our makerspace. And while I'm a huge advocate of the makerspace and library programs and growing those things, I don't know if this is the right time to grow it when we don't have secure funding and a secure plan for how we're gonna sustain the makerspace. So expansion right now doesn't sound right to me. That's just my personal opinion. I do think it is a really great location, and it is a really good cost, and that may be a great location for someone who's just trying to start out a new business too. Not necessarily for us, is what I'm thinking. Someone who maybe is trying to start a new business but can't afford to, pay the rental prices in town. So I think that maybe we should allow this opportunity to see if there's other takers out there in the community who could really use it, versus us, that our makerspace is not stable right now, in my opinion.
I looked at that with some people that were in business, and they felt that being in a library situation wasn't conducive for starting their business. It wasn't on Main Street or office building or something. It just felt it was pretty unique to just the library. So I found a little pushback on that from the private sector, but it doesn't mean you couldn't find somebody.
I like the idea. I think it makes sense, connecting spaces like that. And I think just in the short amount of time she has been here, Jana has brought a lot of stability and has done a lot of great things already. And I think now that makerspace is in her job description, so there's not really a imminent risk of that program going away, because that's part of her duties, is dedicated to keeping that makerspace open. So
But I remember
what she's doing there.
just one bit of perspective. Doubling this space just allows us to spread out what we already have. So we have 24 plus stations or pieces of equipment in the makerspace right now, which means when we're doing a 3D program, for example, we've got everybody on top of each other. And when we have our open hours, which we've had, which we're doing now, we have lots of folks coming in using different pieces of equipment. There's just not a lot of space there. So this expansion is not, oh, we're going to get a whole bunch of new equipment. Oh, we need a lot of infrastructure. It's just allowing us to spread out. We'd have 2 workspaces. We'd have an opportunity to do 2 kinds of classes, or 2 classes at the same time. It just gives us more flexibility there.
it also allows for expansion, correct? I mean,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna just spread everything out. It still gives you the room to, for.
Yeah, it does allow
You
us.
mentioned, right?
Bigger pardon?
You mentioned a loom that you wanted to bring in.
Sure, there's a possibility of a loom. The big piece of equipment that doesn't fit anywhere else is it's called a long arm quilter. So if you're familiar with it, it's the width of a full queen size quilt, and it's about 5 feet deep. So it would take up a lot of space. And there's a lot of interest in that in the community right now. All the rest of the stuff that's in there right now are things that we already own that we would just make more space for.
So do you have data for the foot traffic of the makerspace?
Interesting question, because as you pointed out.
would like to
we're
see
still
that.
growing. Yep, sure.
I would like to see that. And then do you have money left in your budget? That
Not
would
in the
cover it.
library budget. Well,
So that is another concern of mine.
would we fold that into the permanent budget, additional space and just make
Yeah, and
it?
we're getting ready to hit a budget cycle. So maybe that would be a better time to talk about that with our budget committee on whether or not we want to pencil that into the library's budget. That's just, you know, me being conservative with not taking any risky moves right now, my opinion.
We know the rent amount.
9,000
Up to,
annual.
yeah, 88.92 if we were to rent both of the blue spaces there. That's the max. The board has, foundation board has given Counselor Gunderson the go ahead to reduce that by as much as half.
Columbia Economic Team of them, they were there was about half that,
Correct. Yeah. So this, yeah, exactly.
5,000 a year, which.
Yep.
Big picture of a $84 million budget, it's pretty small money, but
Have a big impact. I understand the fiscal concerns.
Well, and it's just the timing right now as well. You know, things are getting ready to change with the council, and I'm just wondering if maybe we should gather more information about the data of the makerspace and making sure that we're not taking opportunities from other businesses that might be interested in that, using that space as well. I understand that you have what you've heard, but I want to make sure we put the feelers out there for everybody that might potentially be able to use that space to start up.
Who and how will we market that?
I wonder if we can get like Jason Moon maybe to put some information out there, Main Street to put some information out there about the opportunity to lease this space for a small business. That's what I think, but.
And your group's okay with that? To bring in,
Well, I'm assuming they want to lease it to anybody, right? They want to refill the space to.
You know, there's some parameters, obviously. It's not a good retail space. So the sort of organization that CCET and SBDC, how they've been using that space is really ideal for that building, that part of that building.
So generally, a lot of the programs in the makerspace are free programs.
Everything's free.
Potential to have some paid programs that would help fund this.
Interesting. I've been talking to a board member about fundraising, finding funding for programs. It's not our practice to charge for programs. It's part of, our mission as a public library. So we've talked about finding funding to pay presenters, but not charge individuals for participating.
Well, what if there was a partnership or something with the rec center? Like, have you talked to Shauna about, because they do charge for some of their programming. So maybe that would be a way to earn back some of that money.
Sure. I'd be happy to.
Potential for partnership there to kind of figure out how to balance that budget.
Yeah, good point. We have been collaborating on some programming, but I hadn't thought about going back to her with that.
You have something you want to say, John?
I'm just looking for direction.
Oh.
Well,
I'll
also,
bring it to the council's attention. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good use of space. I understand Councilor Chilton's concerns. I mean, ultimately it will come to a vote, right? So.
I will say one of the attractive features about that expansion would allow you to not have to leave the building to go out into the courtyard to go into the makerspace. You can actually it's heated space the whole way through. I do think the lease includes the utilities included with that and use of restrooms, and see it's a pretty low cost.
So you mentioned the potential of having the fee reduced by maybe as much up to half. How do we find out if that's a possibility?
Find out.
The foundation board would have to make that decision, but they have offered that as an option.
That would be important for me to know if that is going to happen or not.
I think we need more information
Any
personally.
concerns? I'm happy to get it.
Do you feel comfortable with like some of the information we're looking for, being able to gather some of that? And then Mark, you gather some of it from the library board? Okay. And then, so we'll put it on a future agenda and talk about it again.
Sounds great. We'll get that information to you.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about the agreement with the Port of Columbia County for access to industrial properties.
Right, and I see Amy Bynum here from the port. This is what's between public entities is an ORS 190 agreement, which is an intergovernmental agreement between 1, 2, or as many as all cities and or municipal entities. And it's an intergovernmental agreement that allows you to partner things. And in this case, we're creating an access agreement for the port to be able to work on the Bailey Bridge. It's down on the Pope and Talbot site, which is at the end of Railroad Avenue. You'll go down to the very end, Waste Management. There's a little bridge there that's sitting on some pilings. Some of those pilings are failing. They need to get equipment in there to move that bridge, make those repairs, and then reestablish that connection. And we came up with this as a solution for the city to allow them access from the north end of the site, which is coming through the mill site, and around the back through some connections there. The agreement's set up to be 5 years, can be terminated at any time by either party. Made it pretty clean and straightforward. It's not creating anything permanent here.
I'm assuming you checked with Project Arcadia to make sure that doesn't interfere with anything they're doing.
Doesn't interfere there. Work area.
That was the only question I had. I just want to make sure, since we know we're doing things in that area.
Close, close, but it's
I mean, it's not. You know. Sounds good to me.
So we're gonna vote on it tonight.
it's on for tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
You as the governing body or enter into those types of agreements. It's not an administrative thing.
All right, looks like we are going to hear your report now, John.
That was very quick. Okay, well, hard to believe it's December already, but we've been talking with the senior center on Monday. Shauna, Duggan and I, Dan Brown went out to the senior center. There's a board meeting, there wasn't, but we did get the opportunity to meet Joanne, which is the board of the senior center, and introduce ourselves and, you know, share our support to be there for the senior center. We want them to succeed. And let them know that we'll be back next Monday for the real board meeting. So get the real board. We're all there together. Anyway, that was good. She was very receptive. They how they got there. They're open to any kind of help that we have to offer. And, yesterday, I attended the League of Oregon Cities Elected Essentials for our region, which was in Canna Beach. It's a little bit of a icy drive there, but really good information for a lot of people in the room. Particularly this Oregon Government Ethics Commission's expanded role around, not only just doing ethics, and oversight, but public meetings oversight. Now they're taking on this public records arm of this, and we're going to find that they're calling themselves OGEC, which I have a hard time saying that, but Oregon Government Ethics Commission is going to be a call line where you can, if you have questions just about executive sessions, about anything, you can call them in advance and they'll get you quick answers about records, about ethics, all of it. So that's good information. I think if you haven't been to that, it's good to get all the latest and sign up for one of those sessions. But Toy and Joys this weekend, the city contributed to that this year. Some raffle items there as far as discounted water billing credits. I think the big dinner is out the fairgrounds this weekend. If you haven't signed up and want to go, I don't think it's too late. Christmas ships, we're doing Christmas ships. Decorations going up tomorrow, which is good. Looking forward to seeing that. Project Arcadia, restarting the mill. We've been supporting their efforts, which there's a lot there. There's a number of permits that we've kept in good standing so that they wouldn't expire and make it really difficult to open it up. So we've been, filing those reports, keeping things up to date. And now we're at a point where they're queuing them up to transition when the mill transacts. And, DQ, DSL, or not DSL, but the permitting agency have been very supportive and excited about the opportunity of the mill coming back as well. The Millard Road sale is continuing. Escrow released the non-refundable portion of the earnest money to the city, so that's a good thing. Our very good bid for the timber sale is good. Getting all that paperwork in order. Earlier today, we received confirmation from FEMA on our choice for what they're calling the PICM, which is the 3 tracks the cities can take as far as floodplain management, whether you adopt the model rules, whether you go on a case basis, or if you do these full environmental review. for each case, and we're going with number 2, which is a case by case basis. That is the most conservative approach. That none of the picks are good by our standards. They don't meld up very well with Oregon land use laws and clear and objective standards. It's kind of a mess. And rather than going and making extensive changes to our floodplain regulations, we're just going to go on a case basis and see how this evolves. Because more than likely, and we don't want to be the community that does it, there'll be litigation at the federal level that'll kind of change this outcome. It's kind of a easy road and just let it kind of shake itself out. Tonight on your council packet for acceptance is a talk to Rachel Berry about coming back and supporting the city and doing some community survey, council goal setting and lining up a retreat. That's in your packet for approval. There's also a council retreat by SSW scheduled for Friday, January 31st, that I don't have a contract for that yet, but we will have it probably by the next meeting. And hopefully that 31st date works for everybody. It's a Friday. Mayor-elect Massey has been invited that, so that date works for her. Looking forward to some team building and since reviewing our goals and getting off to a fresh new year. So I mentioned about Christina leaving, and there's been a whole lot of administrative work, and I know Kathy and Lisa and all of us at City Hall are just really with transition of people, coming and going, and yeah, it's been a lot. So happy to serve. There's not going to be any executive session today. So
Oh, there's not?
there's not. So unless you have something you want to do. It's not my decision, but I don't have anything fresh for you.
All right, well then we are adjourned.